Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for our March themed virtual user group on WebFOCUS Designer. We've got a great agenda lined up for you today. We've got some great speakers. We have Porter Thorndike with you today and Alex Homer with you today, and they are ready to present. We also have Dan Ortolani on the line and Angie Hildak on the line that you guys are very familiar with. So, and I'm Shay Creech for those of you who may not know me. So thank you guys for joining us. Before we get started, a couple of quick housekeeping. Just as a reminder, this session is being recorded, and you will have access to this recording within about 24 hours. It will be posted for on-demand viewing on our ibi.com website under the resource section. So there you can find the recording as well as previous recordings of other user groups and Focus Fridays. If you have any questions during the session, please feel free to submit them through the Q&A. We have Angie and Alex and Porter and myself who will be monitoring the Q&A box and getting those questions answered for you. So feel free to submit those there. And at the end of the meeting, I will be sending out a link to an evaluation form. Your feedback is greatly appreciated. If you wouldn't mind, please filling that out for us. And that way we are improving on our user groups and making sure that we're bringing you all of the great content that you guys want to see and hear. So on that note, I'm going to go over just a quick couple of things for you guys just to remind you of some customer resources that are available. Let me share my screen. There we go. All right, let's dive right in. So as I said, again, today we have Porter and Alex with us today who will be presenting for you. And so we'll get ready to throw it over to them in just a second. As a reminder, my ibi.com is back. So you can find all of your IBI products and solutions back over on the ibi.com domain. So we have moved everything over from TIBCO. We have our own website back, and we are continuing to improve and add to this website weekly, and and as the days will come. So you'll continue to see new things out here. As of right now, you can pretty much find all of the IBI products and solutions. We are adding new customer stories as well as, well-known customer stories, so you can find those out there. Under the resource section, you can find all of your on-demand user groups and Focus Fridays and other webinars that have been recorded from or with IBI, so you can go back and view those recordings. We also have an events section. There in the events section, you will find all of the upcoming user groups, Focus Fridays, in-person user groups, webinars, things like that. For April, if you are in, I'm not sure if we have any North America folks on here, but if you are in the Kansas City or St. Louis area in North America, we will be visiting you in April. You can also still access support. And there at the bottom of the page will take you directly to the support page, and you can still submit your tickets and find your documentation and get help there. What's still coming? As I said, we are constantly improving the website, still adding new material, new content. You expect to see some more product documentation around the different products. You'll expect to see some education and training being added, a link to that so that's easy for you guys to find, as well as a link to the community. So you'll be able just to go out to the website and link back there. So speaking of events, as I mentioned, coming up, you can go out there and see we have a lot of events filling up the calendar. There's even more that was added as of yesterday. I just need to update this screenshot. So please be sure to go out there, check out, and sign up for any future events that you guys want to attend. And then community, we are still on the TIBCO community for the foreseeable future, but we do highly encourage you guys to still go out there, register, and be a part and engage with the community. We do have our own WebFOCUS portal out there, so it is all IBI content, WebFOCUS, iWay. All of the great stuff that you guys know and love is in its own portal. We are working with our IT to try to at least pull us into our own kind of domain, so that we can have kind of be an IBI page. So we're still working on that, and also working on some customer enablement. that we can provide for you guys to help better navigate the community and help you guys, find things and be able to engage more effectively within the community. We do have 2 groups out there under the group section. We have our IBI user group section. So if you are a WebFOCUS or iWay a user group attendee, we encourage you to join that group. There you can register for upcoming events, know when things are coming. You can participate in discussions. We have surveys out there with other user group members, and just a chance for you to interact with your fellow user group community members. And then just recently, we have also created a Focus Friday group. So you can engage with Walter Blood, Walter Bringle, and Mark, the Walters and Mark. So if you also attend the Focus Fridays, that's a great group for you to join. They also are engaging in asking and talking with you guys out there. And you can also find their presentations as well as links to their recordings in their group. So feel free to head out there, join these groups. We'd love to have you in the community. Get social with us. So we have improved our social media and actually have a new YouTube channel. So those of you who might have followed the old IBI YouTube channel, there is a brand new YouTube channel out there now. We'd love for you guys to go out, click subscribe, follow us. The YouTube channel is also a really great place that you guys can find some videos. So we'll be posting a lot of those videos that you guys ask for out there. Just when I send this presentation out, these icons are linkable. So just click these links and it'll take you to all of our socials. LinkedIn, we're very popular right now and posting on there daily. So you guys can know, when things are coming up. And then of course, Twitter. And then, like I said, our brand new YouTube channel. All right, I'm going to toss it over to Dan, who's going to talk to you guys a little bit about Gold Support and the Tech Refresh Program. Dan?
Thank you, Shay, and welcome. Good afternoon, everybody. Great to see so many customers participating today. I'd like to just quickly update everyone on our Enhanced Gold Support Program. I can see by the participant list that a number of you are already Gold Support customers, and a number of you will be candidates potentially for Gold Support going forward. This is a service that is unique to all of the Cloud Software Group teams. As many of you know, we've had our Gold Support service, which included a assigned technical account manager and all of the services that you see there under Gold Support. The priority queuing, the 24/7 and 365 coverage, access to subject matter experts for production downtime issues on the weekends and off hours, and then access to our ATS team for architecture, performance, scalability support. And also for our Gold customers, we replicate the customer environment. So when releases are made available to customers, we always test them in the replication environment, and same with hot fixes. But what we saw an opportunity to add some new services to Gold Support when we brought over the customer success management team as part of our recent merger. So what we did was we combined customer success with Gold Support to provide a much more uplifted service for our customers. So in addition to all the technical services I just mentioned, we now have our Gold Success Managers also working with our Gold customers. And this is a team that will really help you expand your use of WebFOCUS and IBI products so that you get maximum value for those products. We have so many of you in the audience have had enterprise class deployments that have been servicing your users for many years. But we want to make sure that you're taking advantage of all the full capabilities, right, that you're licensed for. And so that's one of the missions for this team. They'll also be providing education, quarterly reviews, periodic health checks of the environment, and also to orchestrate connections with the executive teams and other members of our IBI community here at Cloud Software Group. So stay tuned for more information on this. If you are a gold customer already, we have a webinar planned for next week on the 30th to explain more about these enhancements. And if you're a silver support customer and you're interested to learn more about gold support, please reach out to your account executive or your SE, and we'll set up a more detailed briefing. Second topic, I just want to remind everybody that if you haven't upgraded already, please plan to do so soon. And we have a program to help you. We've reviewed this with you on a couple of different occasions last year when we launched the program. As a reminder, the legacy IBI releases, WebFOCUS releases, 8206.32 or prior, are all going into retirement mode as of September 30th. That means that after September 30th, if you try to open a case with one of those releases flagged in your case, it will be rejected, right? So those releases will no longer be supported by the IBI team unless you purchase extended support, which is kind of a additional cost right on top of your maintenance. So we strongly prefer, right, that customers, that you all be in a position to be on our latest releases, whether that's an 8207.28 level release or a WebFOCUS 9 release. And so the benefit for doing this, there are many benefits, but one major benefit is when you upgrade, you automatically have access to the full suite of our WebFOCUS Edition features, also known as the Golden Key. So unlimited standard adapters, active reports, analytics anywhere, our geospatial capabilities, which I think Alex is going to talk about later on today. It's really a very robust product suite now that we're offering, and you get it automatically when you upgrade. So the other thing is, once you're at a current release, if we need to apply security fixes, whether it's for open source components that we include with WebFOCUS, or potentially security fixes to our own product, we could do this in a very surgical way if you are already on a current release. If you're on a legacy release, it becomes, a major issue, right, for us and for you and your security teams. So this program that we have to help you is called the Tech Refresh Program, as I think you probably already know. And you can register for this program by just clicking on the link below that you see at the bottom of the slide, or you can contact your account exec and they'll help you through the process. And what we do is when you register, we invite you to participate in a free workshop, which is about a 2-hour workshop where we assess the effort to upgrade your environment. And if it's a low complexity upgrade, we have a fixed scope, fixed price approach for that. If it's more complex, then we have our professional services team work with you on scoping that and creating an SOW and expediting that for you. So this service has been used by over 150 customers so far. Really, just even since the fourth quarter of last year, rolling up to this year, we've held over 65 workshops. So this is a very mature program, and it's really designed to address all of the challenges that you've had with past upgrades. This uncertainty around scope, uncertainty around cost, resources that you have, methodologies, best practices. We've rolled that all into this program, and it's implemented through a combination of our offshore resources, which are Cloud Software Group employees, and with oversight from my team. So we encourage you to really, if you haven't upgraded already, like I said, really put that on your map, put that in your planning for this year, and we'll work with you to expedite the process. Thanks very much, and back to you, Shay.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dan, for that. Okay, guys, I'm about to toss it over to Alex. But just again, as a reminder, once we're done with the meeting today, I will send you a link for the evaluation form. I will also throw it into the chat towards the end of the meeting. So if you guys wouldn't mind filling that out. So on that note, I'm going to toss it over to you, Alex. The floor is yours.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Shay. Let me get started. Okay. Yes. So hey, it's morning here in North America, but good afternoon or good evening to those of you in EMEA who might be on different time zones. Yeah, I'm excited to show you guys all some of the cool new features in release 9.1. We're going to show you some of this new features for authored content, charting, reporting, some things for pages, and a new document mode in Designer, and then you guys get a chance to see super cool interaction feature that Porter's going to go through. When I was thinking about the 9.1 release, trying to think of like what are the kind of like themes that tie all these authored content features together, I was trying to figure out like how to kind of approach it. And as I was like looking at all these features, it kind of what I found was that, and you know, I kind of knew this from having worked on the features. We actually made enhancements to basically like the entire workflow across WebFOCUS and across like the designer content creation tool. So that includes from creating your content, creating charts and reports, to assembling that content together, creating pages and creating documents. We've added little new features to make those steps easier in a lot of different ways. Made enhancements to different areas in which you might consume that content. So whether you want to consume that content in a browser, we made enhancements for content that can be shown there. We've also made enhancements to more desktop-based file outputs such as PDF and Excel. So it's easier to create, easier to navigate in those contexts as well. So kind of like getting some enhancements no matter what kind of content you're creating and where you want to use it. And both charts and reports also have some new features. So we have some big features that we're going to show you, and also like a lot of kind of small enhancements that should improve the workflow as well that we'll sort of run through as well. And some of the sort of small enhancements that improve like the usability and the comprehensibility of your content were made for charts and reports. So on the reporting side, we have a modernized grid tool for in-document analytics. It's our AHTML output format. And that's available automatically in IDA or in-document analytic reports. So that when you run it, you can open up that grid tool, and it is basically like a little interface that allows you to change the sort order, change the sorting, and apply aggregations, do all sorts of stuff that will allow you to kind of get some new insight into the data that is in your report, and kind of like see it from a different angle. Also for reports, we have the ability to freeze headers from Designer in Excel reports and in HTML reports. So that'll make it easier to navigate, especially if your report has a lot of columns and a lot of rows. It can kind of sometimes get lost when you have like a lot of data in your report. And so having that ability to freeze directly from Designer can make it a lot easier for people viewing your reports to navigate those. As far as charts go, we have our narrative chart feature, if you have the narrative chart add-on, which leverages EasyOp natural language generation to create a description of the chart and the trends in it. So if you are sharing your chart with someone who might not be as familiar with like data visualization and those kinds of concepts, having a text description that's generated automatically so you know it reflects the data that's in the chart can be a good way to open up the chart to a new audience. And also maybe the description too will provide some information or some kind of like highlight some trends that you hadn't noticed before. So that's a very useful feature that we have as well. We also added the ability to add markers to different series in a line chart. So you can add it to just one series or to multiple series. And that can be useful to highlight specific lines in a line chart or to differentiate them. If you have like a lot of lines clustered together, it can be a good way to kind of like visually distinguish them. And then also for bar charts, specifically stack bar charts, we have a new option to sort by the entire bar total value. So instead of our like typical sorting where it would sort all of the segments in those bars, you also have the option to sort the entire bar so that depending on how you want to highlight the information, whether you want to focus on the series or on the axis values, you have that flexibility. So that's another area where we've made it easier to understand the chart and also provided some flexibility in terms of how you visualize that data. So some small enhancements across the board for charting and reporting. For filtering, we made some very cool enhancements too. My favorite one is our new dynamic date ranges. So before we had kind of a fixed list of date ranges that you could select from, but now we have like a very static set of options. So you can choose which unit of time you want to view and how many of them. So you could say you want to see data from this year, this week, or this month, or you could do like the last 6 years, 6 weeks, 6 months. And if you're doing date time data, and that's what you're filtering on, then you can also do like the past 6 hours, past 6 minutes, which is great for like streaming data if you have that kind of feeding into your page. So that's a great feature and very intuitive and easy to use as well. We have some other new enhancements for filters as well in the page context. So when you first add the filter, you now have the option to immediately add it as whatever relevant type of filter that you want to use instead of adding and converting afterward. We have easier date defaults. So when you add those filters, you don't have to worry too much about the format of the date value in the filter. You can use our new option to set it a little bit more intuitively without having to worry about that aspect. And finally, we have an option that I'll show as well to automatically hide or show the all value in a control based on the number of values. So instead of having to think if you want to show the all value for filters that have multiple values, but don't want to show it for filters that have one value, since chaining might affect the number of values in the filter, or changes in your data might affect the number of values in the filter. You can hide that all value when there's only one value and you don't need it. So that's just like a small thing that means that you have to do less like pre-planning when you're creating your page. You can kind of let the tool kind of handle the scenarios as they come up. And then finally, from an authoring standpoint, one of the very big features that we added is new document mode in Designer. So to start with, we are tackling some of the most common use cases that we had from our previous document creators in InfoAssist and App Studio. So in 9.1, you can create PDF documents with existing content created in Designer, as well as InfoAssist reports. So you can add charts and reports and also images to the page. And you have a number of configuration options to change like the page size, orientation, all that. You have the option to position each item and resize it on the page and add multiple pages to your document with different content. So have the ability to create kind of flexible documents that are great for PDF consumption, or PDF output is great for desktop consumption so that you can open them up and distribute those via email or whatever other method you want to use, and download those, etc. So we'll be continuing to make enhancements to this feature as well moving forward. Now that it's in Designer, it gives us a lot of flexibility with how we move forward with this feature. So now I will get started on a demo. All right, so yeah, here's Designer. To start with, I'll show, here's a report that I created. You can see it's pretty long. It's got like a lot of lot of rows, so we'd be doing a lot of scrolling in this report, and it's also got a fair number of columns as well. First, I'll show you the grid tool, which is available in the in-document analytics output. So as soon as you run it, you get all these kind of automatic built-in features, including filtering and visualization options and all that. That's just kind of built into the in-document analytic format. And then to access the grid tool, I click this report level menu and click the edit option. And so now I have this grid tool that will allow me to kind of take a look at my data from different perspectives. So I can use this sort order bucket to change the sorting of the report. For example, I can sort by revenue. I can change the order as well. So now I'm seeing the report sorted by the highest revenue combinations of sale year, store, and product category. So I can see that the web store, for the most part, had the most highest revenue years, and it's kind of like a mix of different categories. Although as I move down, I can see that stereo systems for a lot of these stores were the highest revenue product area. So already, just by like doing one thing, I've already been able to get some insight out of this report that might not have been apparent at first glance. So that's just an example of what you can do with the grid tool. There's a lot of options with that overall. Next, the other thing I mentioned was the freeze and column headers. So I've selected the Excel output format, and we have a set of output settings, and these are specific to each output format. So for Excel, I can select this freeze option, and then when I run it, I've already run this beforehand, so I can show you guys. When I run it, columns are frozen automatically, so I don't need to go into Excel and apply that. And you can see it's very useful since I have multiple columns and a lot of rows, especially when the columns have kind of similar data. It's very helpful to like see that stuff. So very easy to apply. As you saw, it was just like single button click here, but provides pretty useful functionality on there as well. Next up, showing some of those line chart options. For the line chart, the marker options are available under the series. So I could already set it for all series so that the same markers would apply on all of them. But now I can also select an individual series. So once I select the show marker option, the default markers use the series color, but if I want, I can even choose whatever styling I want. I can also change the marker shape. So I have some flexibility there in terms of what I want to show. I can change the fill and the border to be whatever I want, and it can be a useful way to differentiate the different lines in your chart and also like highlight them in a more noticeable way. So in this case, I'm only doing a single series here, just the major brand one. So only this line gets the markers, as you can see. But I could apply separate markers to each of them as well. So that's one way that you can customize your charts. Another thing I'm going to show is this narrative text option. This is available if you have the narrative charts add-on, which uses EasyOp natural language generation functionality. And so all I have to do is select that option, and then we use the EasyOp engine to generate narrative text that describes the trends that are going on in the chart. This is available for bar, area, line, and pie charts. And you can see here that it describes the kind of like change over time in the data and has a description of my series. So, and if I had more series, it would describe like more, of the different categories for this. But I get some information about how the two are related to one another and kind of like the trends within those. So that can be very useful, even to highlight things that you can kind of see in the graph, but it's good to like be able to like see it written out and put exact figures to it. So Next up, we have this page that I've got some filters on. So this report is filtered by the sale date. And here you can see the new dynamic date range filtering options. So I could select like this period of time. You can see like the periods of time that we have available, or I can select a like certain number of those periods. So for example, since this data actually only goes up to like 2020, I'll do like the last 4 years, and then I can choose this include up to current, which will include the current year. If you hover on this, you can see the exact range of dates that are included there. But yeah, I mean, it's super intuitive. I don't need to open up the calendar and scroll through to back to 2019 to select that. And also don't even need to think about like the exact days that I want to include. I can use kind of like more intuitive and more simple UI to do that. So you can see here, it's like filtered based on the years that I selected. Here's 2020 and goes up to the end of the data basically that I have here. And then finally, I mentioned there is option to hide or show this all option depending on the number of values in the control. So I've turned that on for this filter. So by default, you can see it's there, and it's useful when you have multiple values so that you don't need to like individually select each one. You can just click all. And so if I select a brand, since these two filters are chained, that has multiple product categories associated with it, you can see that the all option is still available and that I have these two categories listed. But if I switch to like a more specialty type brand that only has one product category, like Sennheiser, I think only makes headphones, probably makes some other stuff too. But you can see here that now I don't have the all option anymore because there's only one option. I don't need all, and that it just has accessories, and that's selected by default. So that's like kind of like a nice way that you can configure that. And that's available if you select the filter control in the designer when you're using or creating an assembled page. Then you can clear that checkbox and it will make that available. So that's very easy to set up as well, similar to some of these other options that are kind of like single click or available out of the box. And then the last thing I'm going to show is our document mode. So that's available from this plus menu, from this compose document option. And so as of 9.1, you can use any designer content, charts, and reports that is available in your repository, as well as images. So you can see those are listed here. If I had info assist reports available here, they would display it as well. And you can see also I have some like page configuration options. I can change the size, units, and orientation, and all that stuff. I can add images to my documents since those are often useful to use. You can see I also have the option to change the size. I can drag like this, or I can use these spinners. I also have this nice lock aspect ratio option, which is great for images because I don't want the aspect ratio to change because it would distort the image. So I can turn that on and then enter a value and it will resize the image appropriately. I can add multiple items. This is a very long report to show you that overflow is handled automatically. So ordinarily, this report would span multiple pages. In document mode, we handle overflow by generating additional pages to handle the additional data in the report, as you'll see. And I can even add another item underneath it to show how overflow is handled in the document. Here are our paging options. I can add multiple pages to the document. I could duplicate this page or delete pages, reorder them, etc. I also have an option to rename the page if I want, if that helps me to like, when I reopen this document, to remember what I had on each page. And then I can add different content to this page, just like in IA or App Studio. So each page has its own items and to, show different information or whatever. And then when I run the document, you'll see how the overflow is handled, and that it reflects, of course, what I added to the canvas. And that how the kind of like paging and overflow interact as well. So when I have multiple pages with overflow, we handle that automatically. So you don't need to worry about how that is going to be generated on the document. And so here you can see I have my PDF document. I can download this, save it, whatever I want to do with it. And you can see here that only part of the report shows up on this page. And here's my chart that was on the first page, but then the additional pages have the overflow information. So I get the entire report in my document, and then here's the page 2 that I specified. It has this bar chart on it. So everything shows up and is kind of like handled automatically, and I have flexible options to move, resize those items. So yeah, that's basically it for my portion. I don't know if there's any questions pertaining to this section that I can address.
Yeah, Alex, there are. You do have a couple of questions here. How are charts rendered on PDF documents? Are they still PNG pictures, or has it changed to a vector? Will the feature be added to change PowerPoint density of chart from Designer?
Yeah, so they are still PNG. We didn't do many changes to like the kind of internal processing, but we can take a look at, because we do have, I think, the ability to output vector images. Just I'm not sure how we'd have to take a look at how it works in the PDF context. But yes, these are using like the PNG generation, which we also use, I think, for Excel, PowerPoint, and that kind of stuff.
Okay. Is there a way to customize the date filter for a company's fiscal year that doesn't always match with calendar year?
Yeah, I got this question yesterday. I don't believe so, but I am not certain. I'll look into that one for sure, because we've gotten that question a couple times actually.
Okay. Can you define the PDF page layout background, page heading, footing, page numbers?
I think like background you might be able to handle via like putting an image or something back there. And as you saw, like with the overflow, it kind of repeats the image on each page. We're going to be improving the kind of customizability of like layering as well, which will help with that. As far as numbers go, not yet, but that's also something our plan is to incorporate everything that we had in InfoAssist in App Studio as well, as much as possible. So moving forward, we'll be continuing to make enhancements to our kind of PDF interface to support those things.
All right. Any other questions for Alex for his portion? All right, we'll continue to monitor those, Alex, if some pop in. All right, guys, now we're going to toss it over to Porter. So, Porter, the floor is yours.
Sounds great. Thanks, Shay. Great to be with everyone. I'm going to go through what I think is probably one of the most important features we've introduced in the last couple of releases. It's called interactions. For those of you that are familiar with App Studio, this is pulling in a lot of the functionality that was introduced in tasks and animations. And fellas, not gonna lie, tasks and animations are a little confusing to me. Okay, I'm not the most skilled application developer out there, but was a little confusing to me. And pleased to report, interactions, so intuitive, so much easier to use. In Designer, I think what you're gonna find is we look at a lot of the key functionality that you use in App Studio as we think about moving that into Designer. It gives us a chance to reevaluate what is the feature, what does it need to do, how could it be better, what additional capabilities could we add? And I see that across a lot of the functionality that only existed in App Studio or InfoAssist as we introduce similar or better functionality in Designer. It just, to me, it feels so much easier to use. So I'm going to take you through that. What interactions are actions that can be applied to any object on a WebFOCUS Designer page. So that would be things like panels, buttons, and controls. It allows you to trigger actions like showing, hiding, triggering a schedule, launching content into a new window or on a page overlay, or one day executing JavaScript. Let me take you through some of the most simple use cases, and then I'm going to take you through some of the most common use cases. Interactions are going to be available from assemble mode in Designer. I have a page opened in assemble mode right now. So you'll know I'm going to drag a chart over onto the page. Okay, interactions are going to be context sensitive. Any object on the page, we could right click. You'll notice there's an interaction menu and we could click add. Now I could also, and the event that's available to me on a panel is click. The events may be different based on the type of object. Okay, you're going to see different event options for things like a drop-down list box, for example. But click is my event option. I'll go with it. You'll notice the menu, it gives you a name. I like to give these names if I'm doing multiple interactions. I like to give it a descriptive name so it helps me understand what I'm doing. Now you'll notice this button right here is what would allow you to show and hide that interactions menu. You could also trigger every interaction. You could just add it manually over here if you don't want to right click it. Okay, so I've got my new interaction started. It's incomplete. All I've said is that on this object, when I click it, I want something to happen. And you can have, and it starts a task. You can have multiple tasks per interaction. So each interaction could be doing a lot of different things. So the action, the major options here are to run something. Okay, if I click on this, I might want to run something to a new window or a different panel. I could show something. If I click this, I might want to reveal additional parameters or additional objects. I could hide things. I might want it to launch a report to be run deferred, or I might want to launch a schedule. I might want to schedule this chart to be delivered to me. So I'm not going to do anything with that right now. Okay. Some of the other options here. I'm going to go over to containers. I'm going to drag a basic container onto the page with the grid object. And as we look at controls, really, as we think about interactions that could be triggered off of controls or buttons, of course, we've got fine-grained control over how to set all of these up. There are some common situations. We want to save you a couple clicks. Two of those are run, deferred, or schedule. So if I just drag a schedule button on here, we're going to save you a couple clicks. And we're just going to launch right into select content. Okay. And I don't know why I'm not seeing my content tree here. I'm sure, let me try to drag that in again. Otherwise, I can probably do it manually for you. All right. That should open up a content tree. Not sure why it's doing that. And it will, okay, there it is. It took a second. So let me select the content that I want to schedule. I'll say, okay. Then we can pre-select a mode. You could leave this blank, right? You could let the user define all of this, or you can pre-select it. Let's say that when we click the schedule button, we want it to run the assets under management chart. We want it to be preset to email. And the target is either a page overlay or a new window or the same window, whatever you want. I'll just select new window, okay? So you'll notice that if I just drag a button in, I don't think it matters whether it's a button or a submit button. Let's find out. And I right click on this and then add an interaction. What you're going to notice, and the event is click, what you're going to notice is that I could manually select schedule. Okay, so it's just saving you a couple clicks, but we know that's going to be a common one. So we want to save you a couple clicks where at all possible. Absolutely. So this button, you can see what else it could do, right? Run content, show, hide, run deferred. Okay, so that's how you could set up things manually off of a button. Now, the other thing that we could do here is trigger interactions off of controls. So let me add a drop down over to here. And as I select the drop down, I'm going to go over to the settings area. Remember that new filter binding and static filter controls. capability we introduced in release 9 is I click to edit. I can actually type in some manual things here. And I could say, you know, show the panel, show panel, and hide panel. And so I can actually trigger an interaction off of this. Notice the event is different. Selection change. In the action, again, it's your common list. So let's trigger the hide object option. So I'm going to pick hide object. I'm going to select the object that I want to hide. This is leveraging the outline mode, where it can track every object on the page, every cell, every control, every button, every container, every chart. Okay, in this case, what I want to do is I want to hide the AUM by sector type chart. So I'm going to pick that. And we can also make this conditional when it's on a control. I'm going to right click and add a condition. If the value is hide panel, then hide it. So let's take a look at some of these in runtime mode. Here's my schedule button, one click, boom, opens my scheduler into the new window, which is what I want, with distribution type of email address preset and the task of running the assets under management FEX preset. As I go back and I click the drop down and I click, okay, it looks like looks like I didn't do a good job finishing the typing in there, but I think this is the hide panel, boom, hides the panel. Those are some simple examples of interactions as we get started. Let me show you some more high-end top customer request examples. And a couple of these are top Porter Thorndike requests, not going to lie. So one that we got from a customer that I think is pretty cool is that if you've got a dashboard, let's say you've got a quadrant, let's say the quadrant has tabs. You know, a lot of people might have dashboards organized where the second tab on each container is maybe related. Like maybe the primary tab is focused on a geography or a metric or a dimension. You'll notice my primary tab, it's all focused on market value. In my secondary tab, it's all focused on assets under management. So some people say, hey, when I click on this tab, it'd be great to trigger all of the other tabs to become active. When I do that, so as I click on this, you'll notice that's what happens. So that's a popular use case for interactions. And the way that we do this is I right click on this tab. Okay, and I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to, I've already built it, so I'm just going to show it to you. You'll notice update tabs to AUM visualizations is what I called it. And it's when the AUM by sector type tab is active. Okay, and so is active is the event that's available to you on a tab control. And I've got 3 tasks. Task 2, run content. The content I want to run, I selected it. Okay, it's this one, but I need to select it. Going to a container, you'll notice the targets here. When there are containers involved, I may want to set the target to a container, not a new window. In the container, I'm selecting from the outline view, which is right there. And I did the same thing for the other containers on the page. Boom, as simple as that. Another use case that I like a lot, actually my favorite use case, is navigation. So for years, our customers have been creating highly parameter-driven applications. Is it a parameterized report? Sure. Like a lot of our customers are creating parameterized reports that look like this. Let me just run it so you can see. Combination of filters. Many of you are parameterizing dimensions, measures, output formats, and more. Now, some of you may have discovered that the power of WebFOCUS to parameterize anything actually opens up the opportunity to create these highly parameter-driven applications that mimic the user experience and workflow of popular consumer applications that may leverage progressive disclosure, would allow you to break up many parameters into smaller chunks on pages that will progress the user through that workflow and make it easier to use. Think about Expedia, where your landing page is simply, where am I flying to, where am I flying from, and what are the dates? And then when you click submit, then you get secondary options like, do you want to go in the morning or the afternoon? Are you looking for the shortest flight duration? Do you want to fly on Delta or United? Okay, so many of our customers leverage this. And I like to build applications like this. The problem was always that it was hard to, there was no, graphical way to connect the various pages with WebFOCUS without coding it. So interactions is a great way to do that. So there's an application that I built about 5-6 years ago. I'm going to show you the code. I couldn't do everything I wanted to in the GUI back then. This could be built in the GUI now, but it is a highly parameter-driven report with variable measures, variable dimensions, a lot of filters, variable output format. I've got a lot of default values in here. That same report actually starts right here. And this landing page is using that usability technique where I'm just saying, hey, there might be the four most important questions that an investor or an advisor might ask when they're researching mutual funds are around returns and fund ratings and expenses and whether we want it recommended. And, the user might say, I'm sensitive to expenses and I want no fee funds. And you'll notice when I click, so I've tailored the results a little bit. When I click results, we're saying, all right, that's easy to use. And when I click results, we find it more usable to retain that user's selections. Then at that point, expose secondary selections like fund family and volatility and net assets. And I might say, I'm looking for a low volatility fund. And at that point, that may also be where you expose variable dimension or measure or output format. Okay, so, and users may get to this page and decide they want to go back, right? So you'll notice I've got return to selections right here. So navigation between the two pages, retainment of selections. How do we do it? So as I go back here and I look at the results button, it's pretty simple. This was an existing application that I had built and I added this navigation in less than 5 minutes. So I would right click, I'd say add interaction. No, on a button, remember that my event option is click. And then the task is to run content. I'm selecting the results designer page. And I want it run in the same window. Now, if this is in a portal, it can be, run to the page. If you want it going to a different container, you can do that. In this case, I like the workflow of same window, but page overlay may be another popular option. Some people may prefer no window. Kind of depends on your use case. If we're to look at the selections page, the results page, you'll notice same thing. Return to selections, click event, run content, go back to the Jeff selections page, same window. And just for fun, I added the schedule button right here, okay, which you can schedule and run that report. One other thing, if you say, Porter, this is great, I'm gonna update my parameterized reports with this functionality today. Here's another key feature you need to be aware of that was introduced a while ago, which is for us to know what parameter you're passing between pages and pass those values. Click on the parameter that you want to pass the value to. And the global name variable is how you tie these two together. So if it's the returns variable, give it a name in the global name setting. And that name just needs to be the same on the other page. Okay, so that's how we stitch together the navigation and pass the values. Last example that I'm going to show you is a lot of people, based on selections that are made, want to be able to show or hide additional parameters or panels. Okay, so I'm going to show you an example right now. So I've got, it's basically that example, but just everything on one page. So I've got beast mode right here. Beast mode is everything's available to me. My primary filters, my secondary filters, and my variable measure, sort, and dimension. Well, some people might actually prefer to start simple, like just give the user 3 options. Okay, so notice the simple mode is only showing me 3 parameters. The advanced mode might say, well, let's expose those secondary parameters, and beast mode says, give me everything. Okay, so this is really just a lot of interactions around showing and hiding. Okay, so simple mode, you'll notice it is selecting the object that I want to show or hide. And I'm saying, and the object is this, by the way. And the option for this button control is selection change. And I'm doing I'm putting in the conditional logic here. I'm saying if the value is simple, I'm hiding a lot of objects. Okay, so I'm using the hide option. I'm picking the parameter that I want to hide. Advanced, I'm simply hiding, I'm showing more and hiding less. In beast mode, I'm saying show everything. Okay, so infinite possibilities with this capability. That's what I love about it, is it's so open-ended and flexible to solve so many different use cases. And before we get the question, I know we're going to get the question, can I trigger a custom JavaScript function coming to you in a release 9.2, which should be production in 3 or 4 weeks. So that's a new thing we're adding to interactions as well. Let's open it up to any questions we have on interactions or anything else. Shay, I'm going to answer one of these questions live.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Which is, what level of access for users is required to see this kind of ad hoc report that Porter's now presenting? Will it be possible to show for anonymous public user? Absolutely. I see there's zero reason you couldn't expose a highly parameter driven with this workflow built in, application parameterized report for a public user. If we've got a lot of customers that are creating customer facing applications. We've got public sector clients creating applications that are citizen facing. So there's, we worked through a lot of the security settings, licensing implications around the anonymous user, actually around the time of COVID, when we were looking to put forth all of these public-facing dashboards and examples with public COVID data on our website using reports, dashboards, and applications hosted within our portal. So that should be no problem at all. Anonymous 10D is asking, can we chain the controls? Of course you can chain the controls. I just want to see if I can have this, see this right here. Chaining was introduced, I believe, in release 9.0. In the way that the chain works is, do you notice that fund family is indented under fund category? That's because it's been selected as a chain, okay? And that's how you control it. If you want to be, a child to the parent, you just drag it underneath. And this actually shows you.
Porter, I don't know if you're sharing anymore.
I'm not sharing anymore. Thank you, Alex. Here it is. Filters option within the designer. You'll notice that fund family is indented to fund category. That indicates the chain direction. Okay. Answered that one live. Another one, can I control the multiple filters by button click rather than every time a change event is triggered? I'm positive the answer is yes. I'm just trying to understand the question. And Alex, feel free to jump in if you think you understand it. I mean, I mean, like you see the flexibility of interactions, so you can trigger anything off the button.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I might have an alternate interpretation. I might not be correct about this, but in 9.2 as well, in addition to the JavaScript thing, oh no, actually maybe it was 9.1. We brought in similar to App Studio, you had a set filter value and like get filter value option. I don't remember if it's here in 9.1 or if it will be in 9.2. But I think you could use that as well. I guess at the 9.2 stage, you could have it execute that JavaScript function, and then it could populate multiple controls at once. I don't know if that might answer that question as well. But yeah, we have a lot of ways to kind of like, yeah, chain filters and have the filters update each other.
One says, would this essentially avoid the need to go back to App Studio for click events? Yes. Yes, it would. I don't even have App Studio installed. There might be some sort of granular, small thing, right? Exotic thing that tasks and animations did. To me, it's this does everything I would need to be able to do. I think once we add the Java, launching a JavaScript function, that really opens up endless customization as well. Elias, thank you for the compliment. It's not a question. I welcome it. You know what? It doesn't have to be questions. Feel free to throw compliments into the question and answer. It should be questions, compliments, and answers. Let's be honest here. There's something about save parameter selection. So this is something that we called bookmarks. I think it was released in release 9 and refined in 9.1. Alex, that's something that's on the page, is my recollection. It's just,
yes, I'm trying to remember. I think when you run it, you get a little bookmark
right up here.
See that?
See this? I'm not sharing my page again. I should just stop unsharing.
Just keep it on.
Here we go. Yeah. So this is that little bookmark option that's added to the page.
So yeah, you can click I guess the drop down like gives you a list of existing bookmarks, and you can click just like the left icon thing.
There's no existing bookmarks, but you notice I can, right, if I make some selections, I can save the bookmark. Yep. Let's see. I think we're good there. So Paul's asking, is Info Assist going to be the end user ad hoc reporting tool? There's very little that Info Assist can do that Designer cannot do. I mean, you probably would have to go into document mode to find maybe like additional output formats, but from a reporting perspective, Designer does hold files. It does variable parameter lists. It does paginated canvas, export into any format. Correct me if I'm wrong, Angie and Alex. I believe Designer does everything from a reporting perspective that Info Assist.
Yeah, there might be like there's a few like outlying areas that we're still working on. Like I think there's like some guided report stuff in IA, if I remember correctly, that we don't have in Designer yet. And some like kind of like automatic formatting stuff like accordion reports and that kind of thing. But yeah, for the most part, I think yeah, as far as the kind of standard reporting options that
Aaron's asking what type of permissions a user needs to save a bookmark. Suffice to say that they just need to be a named user in WebFOCUS. Like a basic user that's running a portal would be able to save bookmarks. Maybe it's a setting in Security Center, not sure, probably. I'm getting a gentle nod from Alex. I'm gonna.
We have a lot of stuff in there.
So Christy's asking about a simpler schedule window. So I think for 9.3 there's the big Reportcaster revamp, which is around modernization of that interface. And to me, it looks simpler, it looks cleaner. So I think you'll see that probably around 9.3.
Yeah, and Angie actually just dropped, and she's been like, kind of spearheading the reportcaster stuff. But I think that is something that's definitely in consideration as we look to update.
Curtis is talking about showing filters based on security. Like, we know that data security could be applied, right? And that the values in the controls could be driven based on security. I'm not sure about if we could graphically drive based on security, this user sees these controls or not. I mean, don't get me wrong, anything's possible, but from a no code perspective, I don't know if that's might be something that would be a good fit for the JavaScript option in 9.2.
Porter, why don't you take Christie's? For the scheduled features, will there be an option to make a simpler schedule window here?
Nope, I think I addressed that. We're revamping Reportcaster for 9.3. I think that will address that. Compliments flooding into the questions area. That's what I love to see. The next one, I want nothing but compliments. Just no questions. Just people really cheering.
For Gregor's question about looking up the syntax, we do have an option on the outline, actually, not in an assembled page like this, but you can right-click like the top node in the outline when you're developing your report to see the syntax that's been generated by the tool. It's read-only, so you'd have to like copy into the text editor because designers also writing stuff in there, but you can see the syntax while you're developing your content from there.
So the question about helping the user when they're typing data into the box, if it's a drop-down control, it's going to give you autocomplete and search. So maybe you could just refine that question to say to indicate if you're looking for something different than type ahead, autocomplete, and search. Because that's what's out of the box on on most of these controls. Thank you, Aaron, for the compliment. We appreciate it.
All right. Any other questions for the team? Or if you want to throw Porter a few more compliments.
My wife and kids would rather that you not. They think that I'm really, puffing my chest out and peacocking around the house. Enough already. So a couple is kind of the perfect amount.
You'll have made his day.
That's right.
All right, guys. Well, then if there are no more questions for our team, we really appreciate you guys joining us today. We hope that you enjoyed the content and the material that Porter and Alex shared with you guys today. Just as a reminder, we did record the session, so give me about 24 hours and I will have it up on our IBI.com website under the resource section. You will also receive a copy of the portion that Alex showed, his PowerPoint presentation. Of course, Porter demoed, so not much to share. You'll just have to go back to watch the recording. If you guys have any questions or need anything from us, you know where to find us. Please don't hesitate to reach out. We will see you guys back in April for our 9.2 virtual user group. So a lot of great content coming next month. And we're hoping, we're going to try to see if we can get some stuff planned over in EMEA for a lot of you guys, maybe do an in-person over there. I know we're ramping up in person here in North America. So we'll see what we can do for you guys over there. With that, I will give you back the rest of your day. And again, thank you, Porter, Alex, Dan, and we'll talk to you guys soon.